over 2 decades of expertise in the financial service sector, Andrew McCormack is a seasoned payment executive currently serving as Chief Operating Officer at Etihad Payments, UAE's national payment system operator. Welcome to an interview with Integrator Media. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Srijit. It's a pleasure to be here.
Andrew, tell me about your journey. How did you end up being the financial officer of Etihad Payments? What's your history like?
So my journey into payments started a long time ago. I wouldn't say that I started out with the intention of being in payments, to be completely honest. I started my career as a software engineer, working in the aerospace industry, and I did that for probably just under 10 years. Did my MBA and then wanted to kind of branch out into business management. Found myself running a solar energy company in Canada, and that was a wonderful experience in terms of building and scaling a small business. And then from there, started to get interested in financial services. I was always responsible for the payments and financial operations of the company, and that got me into banking, ultimately to insurance, and then eventually into payments. Worked for Payments Canada and ultimately became CIO there, running the technology and the payment services, and then eventually moved to Singapore to open up an office for the Bank for International Settlements right just after COVID hit, actually. So that was quite an experience. And then I've been honored to be asked to be the COO here at Etihad Payments and kind of bring all of those experiences together and build this company from the ground up and turn it into the national infrastructure, payment infrastructure provider that we aspire it to be. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
That's quite a long journey. Andrew, my first question is, Etihad Payments was established by Central Bank of UAE in 2023. Could you tell us what were the key motivations behind this, the establishing of Etihad Payments?
Yeah, for sure. In many countries, the central bank doesn't run the retail payment systems. They often look to an operating entity to offer those retail facing services for a variety of reasons, but the central bank usually likes to maintain an oversight role over the retail payment schemes and systems. And in this country, that indeed is kind of how Etihad Payments was born. The central bank decided to divest of things like WPS or the UAE switch, the card switch that we run, and then of course enhance that with many new services like what we'll talk about later, Aani instant payments and other things. That it kind of makes sense from an operational perspective. A central bank is more of a supervisor than an operator in most countries, and now in the UAE that's what we've implemented. So from that perspective, we started the company last year. We're scaling. We're taking over the obligations of and operations of WPS and the UAE switch. We've launched the Aani instant payment service in late 2023, and we'll be also launching a national card scheme in the not too distant future. So that's kind of our remit.
Andrew, Aani is getting quite popular. So my first question on Aani. Could you tell us what is the overview, what is the intention behind Aani, and how does it stand out when compared to other similar platforms globally? And any innovations that's going to come up?
Absolutely. So Aani is the platform for innovation when it comes to instant payments. Aani offers 24/7 instant or real-time payment experiences, and it also allows for convenient, we call them overlay services, but being able to just have someone's mobile phone number, for example, to send them money, or just scan a QR code at a merchant checkout, or even on an online e-commerce use case. So Aani enables all of that kind of digital innovation, interbank payments between bank to bank, wallet provider to bank, and all permutations and combinations there. So all of our participants on the Aani system are licensed institutions of one kind or another. They're either a bank, we call them payment service providers, digital wallets, exchange houses even, and we're the glue that connects all of those systems and then offers this platform for innovation that all of they can bring to their end customers and merchants. So that's kind of what it is in a nutshell. We also have an app called the Aani mobile app that's available in all of the usual app stores. But importantly, Aani payments are available everywhere. The idea is they're going to be ubiquitous. We've got about 30 participants now, banks and exchange houses and the like, who are connected to the platform. And by the end of the year, we'll have at least 50. So we have the vast majority of the market connected. And Aani services are available not just through our app, but indeed through the apps of all of those financial channels. So if you're a customer of a specific bank, you don't even need to download our app to use an Aani payment service. It's going to be natively available right there in that bank app or in that digital wallet. So that's the vision, and we're very close to implementing that now, again with 30 and by the end of the year we'll have at least 95% of the market connected.
By the end of 95% connected. So that defines the broader objective of Aani. So Andrew, then could you give me some understanding about cross-border payments and how it's going to be connected in the meanwhile?
Sure. So Aani initially will be for domestic payments, so person to person, person to merchant, the QR code or the kind of mobile phone number use cases that I've described. And that's really our priority, is to scale the platform, get all the banks and licensed participants connected, get them to enroll their customers, because there's a necessary step that they have to take to get the customer's consent to activate these services. And of course onboard all the merchants. We want people to know what Aani is, and we want them to see, Aani QR codes at the checkout and have that option to pay with that payment method should they choose. So the domestic focus is our initial push, and then of course with other services like you mentioned in other countries that are doing similar things, we do aspire to find ways to connect to them. And so that extension of what we're doing from a domestic perspective into a cross-border perspective is indeed on the roadmap. But the focus initially, of course, is on the domestic side. Yes.
The new domestic card scheme, Jaywan, it's a significant initiative. How does it differentiate itself from existing card schemes, and what are the key benefits? Additionally, are there any plans to extend this reach to GCC or other countries like India and so on?
Yeah, so Jaywan is the forthcoming national domestic card scheme, as you said. The name invokes kind of the history of the country. The precious pearl is literally what Jaywan means. And so it kind of speaks to the culture and the heritage of the UAE. There's certainly other jurisdictions around the world that have previously invested in domestic card schemes. I'm from Canada, so we've had something called Interac for quite some number of years. MADA in Saudi Arabia, for example, has also been launched in the past 5 to 10 years. I'm not sure exactly the timeline. But so the idea of having a domestic card scheme is certainly not necessarily new, but I think for the UAE, it's an important step in terms of offering something that's made in the UAE for the UAE, and that can mean obviously secure and reliable transactions at the point of sale across a variety of use cases and e-commerce use cases, but also the resilience of having your own payment system is an important driver for this, right? To be able to ensure that the country is in control of their own destiny. And that really could also extend to lowering costs, for example. I mean, it's no secret that card payments, in terms of the cost to the merchant is often very high. And so there is part of the objective is to ensure that we are in control of the cost structure of accepting digital payments and card payments in the country. That's an important dimension to this. And then, of course, making sure that it works not just in the UAE, but beyond. And certainly the GCC will be the first region, if you will, that we will build those connections and make sure that the Jaywan card is available broadly in all GCC countries.
So what is the timeline you're looking to launch? And
from a launch perspective, when the priority right now is acquiring. So without getting into sort of payments lingo, obviously the most important thing is as soon as a bank issues a Jaywan card, from a customer experience perspective, it better work wherever you need it to work, right? So if I walk into a shop, one would hope that card works in that shop on day one. So the priority is what we say is on the acquiring side right now in terms of making sure ATM, making sure point of sale, There's a variety of different ways to tap or chip and pin and all these things. So all of that has to work. E-commerce is another layer. Obviously, a lot of people shop online. Making sure Jaywan as a payment method is available in the variety of different online shops, and that's actually more complicated than point of sale. So we're focused on that as well. And then obviously having the initial group of issuers come online as soon as we can reasonably do so to make sure that the system is ready. We already have a pipeline of significant pipeline and growing pipeline of issuers who are interested in working on, developing their card products and so on and so forth. So it's hard to give you an exact date, to be completely honest, but needless to say, all of those pieces are in flight, and we're working very hard to make sure that they're all ready, and then this launch will be successful.
So much innovation in the pipeline. So that would, Andrew, and my next question is, so new technologies are coming through. What kind of training and support are you providing to SMEs to help them integrate these solutions into or operate with these solutions?
Yeah, great question. Etihad Payments as an entity is really a wholesaler, if you will. Our business is one that's focused on working with the participating institutions, financial institutions, right? So in that sense, we don't have direct customer relationships with SME small businesses or certainly retail customers. So to some degree, that support is brokered through our banking partners, right? Obviously, we want to make sure that our banks are fully knowledgeable, up to speed, and have the information and documentation that they need to have those conversations with their customers, those SMEs who are trying to enable these services in their ERP systems or at the point of sale, or the variety of different use cases that they kind of help bring to life. But we kind of are somehow intermediated through our customers who help ultimately that end customer, who's that small business or that medium-sized business. So we, in a nutshell, we don't do direct training and support with the end users.
Okay, I got that. So what are your plans for rolling out these innovations to merchants and SMEs? I mean, how do banks perceive Aani in comparison to traditional credit and debit card usage? How do you see that?
I mean, honestly, we've had a really overwhelmingly positive response from the banking community, and more broadly from the digital wallets or the payment service providers or the exchange houses, who are very excited to onboard and to participate in this scheme. Again, the cost structure is attractive to them as participants. The innovation that they can bring to their customers that's enabled by this platform is way more important than the cost, though. It's really, the ability for them to kind of surprise and delight their customers, where if you just need to send money to your kids or a family member or someone, if you're splitting a bill at a restaurant, these services make it extremely easy and cost effective for the users to do those kinds of things. And so we see a very positive response from the industry. It's obviously a significant uplift in effort for the participants from a technical and integration perspective to enable these services. But I think we're well on our way now. We started last year with 10 participants. We'll have over 50 this year. We've already got almost 1 million customers, end users enrolled, focused on building out the merchant side experiences and e-commerce experiences now. So I think over the next sort of 1 to 2 years, you're going to see a lot of innovation in the commercial space and new and creative ways to kind of embed payments seamlessly into journeys that's all enabled by this central platform, but really allowing the industry to do the innovation as opposed to us trying to do it all, kind of thing.
Okay, coming to that, very important, and my last question is, how soon we could see UAE transition to become a 100% cashless economy? And what are the key steps you think are required to achieve this goal?
Cashless is a complicated concept, actually, and it's more nuanced than you might expect. We like to think about less cash rather than cashless, and the reason is, cash has some unique attributes that are actually very difficult to replicate in a digital world, right? And even in a worst case scenario, if the power goes out, and cash still works. So there's certain reasons that you don't eliminate cash entirely from an economy, right? People know how to use it. It's ubiquitously accepted. It's familiar. That's all good. So we don't intend to go cashless, but our mission by offering these services and kind of modernizing the payment infrastructure is certainly to drive more acceptance and more usage and adoption of cost-effective digital payment methods that obviously over time will probably displace cash usage in some important ways, but it's not necessarily the end goal that we completely remove cash from the ecosystem.
Andrew, pleasure talking. I'm definitely looking into the future with all these innovations coming ahead.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.